Guys, Boxing Gossip here. Hope everyone's doing well. This video, we're going to entitle it something like the heavyweight division post Tyson Fury, and it's got the potential to be one of the more extended, more rambly ones. We'll see where it takes us. But in this video, I'm going to briefly touch on the fact that Tyson Fury's vacated his belts. I'm going to talk about some of the negatives, some of the positives there. And then I'm going to look at the future and the outlook for the heavyweight division as we move forward. Can Tyson Fury come back? Will he be successful after an extended break from the sport? And what will happen in his absence? You know, will we see a new dominant heavyweight? Will we see split titles? Anyway, let's get into it. So first and foremost, the old news now is that the British Boxing Board of Control have suspended Tyson Fury's licence and he has vacated his world titles. There's some suggestion that he's vacated a WBO title on the basis that he can fight for it upon his return. It's unclear whether that's fully confirmed, and we'll probably cover that elsewhere. But for the purposes of this video, let's just say that Tyson Fury has vacated his titles. He is no longer the reigning world champion. He has had his licence suspended. He is potentially facing a ban. Regardless of whether he's banned or not, realistically, he is facing a medium-term absence from the sport. And let's be frank, Fury has already been out of the ring for, give or take, a year. I think it's a year next month. So what we can say is, realistically, it's going to be an absolute minimum of 18 months with no Tyson Fury. And it wouldn't be surprising whatsoever if that 18 months became 24 months, 30 months. Tyson Fury has admitted to taking loads of cocaine. He has admitted to having serious mental health problems, medical issues. Clearly he's been very inactive. Clearly he has not kept himself in good condition, not lived the Spartan lifestyle. There are a number of things affecting Tyson Fury, all of varying levels of severity. And he's going to be out of the ring for as I say, best case, a medium amount of time. So let's look at the negatives of that. The major negative for me is that I am an out-and-out Tyson Fury fan. I have been from day one. He's probably the fighter I have most enjoyed watching and most enjoyed supporting throughout my time as a boxing fan. I'm very, very disappointed that his career has spiralled in this direction. I must say there's been times I've been sympathetic, there's been times I've been less sympathetic. Right now I'm disappointed. And the main reason I'm disappointed is because of the wasted talent. You know, it's unfortunate to see an individual with potential, especially when that individual has potential in an area that you're passionate about. And as you guys know, I'm passionate about heavyweight boxing. But it always hurts to see that unfulfilled potential. And Tyson Fury at the present is a great example of unfulfilled potential. Even if you're not a Tyson Fury fan, we must all agree that Tyson Fury hasn't shown the best of himself so far. He hasn't had an extended career, and there were big fights, big superstardom possibilities out there for him. So, in a sense, at this point, his career is one of wasted potential. If he didn't return to boxing, I personally don't believe that his career has hit the heights, his legacy has hit the heights that it could have done. We're in a great era of heavyweight boxing now. You have the 70s with Ali, Fraser, Foreman. You've got the 90s with Lewis, Bowe, Holyfield, Tyson. It's not impossible that we could have a similar era here. Wilder, Joshua, Haye, Klitschko, Fury. We'll have to see how it all pans out, but this could be a great era of heavyweight boxing. Throw into the mix guys like Joseph Parker, Hughie Fury, Luis Ortiz, great names coming through as well. We could have a real potential golden era here. And Tyson Fury is damaging his chances due to inactivity, due to poor conditioning, due to substance abuse. He's damaging his chances of coming out of that era as the number one named heavyweight from that period. Funnily enough, if you look at the 90s, a lot of people would say the most talented heavyweight was Mike Tyson. But the guy who comes out of that era as the number one was probably Lennox Lewis. Because with Mike Tyson, even though he had a great career, even though he had a Hall of Fame career, again, his career could be classed as one where there was some wasted potential, where he didn't quite hit the heights legacy-wise that he could have done. And it's too early to say that Tyson Fury is at that point, but potentially he could have been. Potentially he could have been. We'll see how it all develops. So that's a major negative for me. I'm a fan of Fury. I think he adds a lot of colour, a different dimension to the sport. He's a big personality and he's a great fighter. And having him out is a negative for me. There's also this idea of, and Hatman mentioned this in a video that he did earlier, I'm sure others will, but there's this idea that Tyson Fury will, all the other heavyweights will be compared to Tyson Fury. So let's say Joseph Parker fights Ruiz for the vacant WBO title. Because Fury's this kind of figure in the sport, but he's not active, everyone's going to, well, not everyone, but a lot of people, let's say Joseph Parker beats Ruiz, there's going to be a lot of comments, oh, Parker's won the vacant title, he could have never won it if Tyson Fury was still on the throne. If Tyson Fury hadn't vacated that title, Parker wouldn't have won it, that's Fury's belt he's holding, etc, etc, etc. There's this idea that with Tyson Fury kind of being this unseen figure in the division, that the achievements of others will potentially be lessened, which is something you don't want to see. You want to see the best fighters active, you want to see the best fighters fighting for the belts, and that allows you to believe that the champions in the sport are there through meritocracy, which I guess is, fundamentally all of our aims. So, lots of negatives with Tyson Fury being out of the ring. Having said that, certainly some positives, silver linings there. Big fights are going to be made. When you have vacant titles, you have fights being made that otherwise wouldn't be made. Parker Ruiz is a perfect example. Two highly rated, undefeated heavyweights. Would they be squaring off if there wasn't a vacant title on the line? Unlikely. Now, Parker Ruiz, it's not a sort of legacy-defining fight. It's not a fight to decide who's the top fighter in the division. It's not even a fight to decide if one of them is a top 5 fighter in the division. But it's a good fight. It's an intriguing fight. Two guys with lots of potential, two guys who are highly touted, and fights like that get made when you have vacant titles. So that's a positive. Fresh faces, guys like Andy Ruiz were potentially a long way away from getting a title shot. I know he's ranked number 3, I think, or number 3 in one of the divisions, but the way the mandatory system works, had Tyson Fury sat on those belts, guys like Ruiz may have had to wait a fair amount of time before getting a chance to fight for a world title. So seeing fresh faces is also good, and it opens up the division somewhat. We've had the Klitschko era, and even though there were 2 Klitschkos, because they would never fight each other, there wasn't really a debate as to who the number 1 champion was, because the idea of Vitaly and Vladimir fighting and squaring off was such a remote possibility. So we've kind of had the Klitschko era. We've had basically a decade of dominance from those guys. We had Tyson Fury win the belts and be definitely the number 1 heavyweight in the world. Anyone who suggests Tyson Fury wasn't the number 1 heavyweight in the world is deluded from my perspective, based on achievements, obviously, I'm talking about. Whereas now we have an open heavyweight scene, which I know that's not ideal in some senses. People like the idea of 1 belt per division, 1 dominant champion, but we've had definite top boys in the heavyweight division for a long, long time now. And it does create some intrigue when it's less certain. Some people will say Deontay Wilder's the number 1 heavyweight active in the sport. Some people will say Anthony Joshua. There'll be others who say Joseph Parker. There'll be others who say Luis Ortiz. There'll be Povetkin people. There'll be Lucas Brown people. There'll be Joseph Parker people. All of these names can come to the fore. Now there's fragmented belts. Now there's an open division. Fights can be made that wouldn't otherwise be made because these belts are going to be won, lost, up for grabs, etc. So, I'm a Fury fan. I wanted Fury to be active. I wanted Fury to emerge as the number 1 heavyweight. But I'm acknowledging that some fresh faces, some good fights getting made, some opening up of that division is no bad thing. It's no bad thing whatsoever. And there's definitely a silver lining there. Can Tyson Fury come back? Yes. He's 28 years old. That's a young man in the context of the heavyweight division. Fury's an improving fighter. If you look at Fury with his first performance at Derek Chisora. He was a talented fighter who did enough to win a clear and competitive fight. If you look at him at his second fight against Derek Chisora, he put on a display of clinical boxing and whitewashed Chisora, winning every single round en route to Chisora being pulled out by his trainer. Then if you look at his victory over Vladimir Klitschko, you see him outboxing a Hall of Fame fighter who, in my opinion, goes down as one of the greatest 10 heavyweights of all time due to his decade of dominance. What I'm getting at is, if we look at Fury's career, there's been a definite upwards trajectory. A guy who struggled with John McDermott, a guy who had a tough fight with Chisora, a guy who dominated Chisora, a guy who went to Vladimir Klitschko's backyard and ripped the titles away. Fury has improved in the ring as he's got older. He's improved under Peter Fury as his trainer. His style has matured nicely. And there's no reason that progression and improvement needs to stop at this point. So can Tyson Fury come back to the sport? Definitely. Can he be successful? Definitely. Is that likely to happen? I'm unsure. Fury is a guy with problems, however you sum it up. Whether you believe he's got mental health problems or not, he's certainly been taking cocaine. He's certainly been drinking heavily. He's certainly regularly having his weight spiralling completely out of his control. And he's being very, very inactive. Compare and contrast the life of Fury and Anthony Joshua. Joshua is a professional athlete. Joshua is a guy who's in the gym every day. Joshua is a guy who went out running on Christmas Day. Joshua is a guy who I don't believe is out drinking 10 pints of Guinness and taking Class A drugs. Sometimes in sport, talent is enough to get you so far. And whilst people may disagree on this, my personal opinion is, in terms of boxing pedigree, Tyson Fury is a far more talented fighter than Anthony Joshua. But talent, at most, is only 50-60% of the equation. Whilst Tyson Fury may have a slight edge in talent, Anthony Joshua has a very substantial edge in dedication. Anthony Joshua has a very substantial edge in conditioning. And Anthony Joshua most certainly has an edge in terms of activity. You know, in Joshua we see a guy who's been wheeled out. I mean, how many times has he fought in the last year? He's fighting every 3 months, give or take. You know, he's being out and about regularly. He's getting rounds under his belt. He's getting big fight experience. He's going through the rigours of training camps regularly. He's going through sparring regularly. That momentum is so key to a fighter. So what I'm getting at is that will catch up very, very quickly. And, you know, the fact that Fury may have a slight edge in talent will be offset. Fury's going to be more inactive now. He's probably going to put on more weight. It's going to even itself out, is what I'm getting at. Now, funnily enough, as I'm recording this video, I've received several messages on my phone saying that the WBO are considering doing a tournament for the vacant title, and are going to include names like Vladimir Klitschko, Haye, Parker, Ruiz. So more on that when I've had time to read the story. But that's an example of precisely what I'm talking about. Good fights potentially being made, the division opening up, fresh faces coming to the fore, you know, guys who've maybe not been in the title picture, coming into the title picture, and, you know, tournaments can be interesting. It can create fights that wouldn't be made otherwise. So that's an exact example of what I was talking about earlier, and that's breaking news just as I'm recording this on an evening. So it's interesting stuff. So can Fury come back? He can come back. He can be successful. He's young enough. He's talented enough. But All of those things are starting to add up against it. Weight gain, the lack of discipline, the substance abuse, the mental health problems potentially, the inactivity, the lack of momentum. These are all things that are huge negatives, huge crosses against his name. Whereas the rivals are active, well conditioned, living the Spartan lifestyle, and that makes such a huge difference. Such a huge difference. Remember when Mike Tyson fought Lennox Lewis? I don't want to see the same thing happen to Tyson Fury. I don't want to see Tyson Fury being demolished by a lesser fighter. Not saying, Lennox Lewis, of course, is an all-time great. It's not a precise comparison. But I don't want to see Tyson Fury being demolished by someone that potentially he could have beat because of problems outside of the ring. And I think something like that is, unfortunately, very possible. And that is disappointing for me as a Fury fan and as a boxing fan. So where does this leave us? Well, as I say, I've had messages from 2 people as I've been talking about a potential tournament. So, maybe I'll have to do a separate video on that. But where it leaves us is Deontay Wilder currently out of the ring, but holding the WBC belt. You've got Povetkin and Bermane Stiverne facing off for some interim title. I suspect Povetkin will win that fight. And I suspect we may see a Wilder-Povetkin fight in 2017. And that's a great fight. For my money, the winner of that fight would potentially have a very strong claim to be the #1 heavyweight in the sport presently. You've got Anthony Joshua. There's a lot of suggestion Joshua will fight Klitschko. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm not buying that fight one bit. Then you've got other names. You've got names knocking around. Vladimir Klitschko. Will he fight Lucas Brown? Luis Ortiz. How old is he really? He's fighting Malik Scott. Where will Matchroom take his career in 2017? Joseph Parker potentially fighting for a world title. Maybe not. Maybe he'll be in part of this tournament, not fighting directly for a world title. Other guys coming through. Hughie Fury coming through. Izu Gonu coming through. Adrian Granat coming through. There's all of these names of people out there. And it's going to be a real fascinating couple of years to see which one of these prospects turns out to be the goods. Could the best one of the lot actually be in the Fury camp? Could it be Hughie Fury all along? Or will one of those big power punchers just be able to clean up someone? Will someone like Deontay Wilder be able to get to 50-0 because his power is that lethal? Will Anthony Joshua prove to be as good as he steps up in opposition as he's looked when passing the eye test against the opposition he's been in so far? It's going to be a truly exciting period of time. Tyson Fury, for me, has the potential to be the best of the bunch. If you look at his skills, if you look at his performance against Klitschko, if you look at some of the things he does in the ring, I believe he's so well-rounded and so advanced that I pick him on balance to beat every one of the fighters we've just named. But a Tyson Fury out of the ring for 2 years, blowing up to 25 stone, with mental health problems and or substance problems. Is his talent that superior that I can pick him to come back and clean up against some of the names that we've discussed? No, it's not. And that lack of momentum, I believe, will probably be very costly to him. And it's unfortunate. There's a lot of older names in the heavyweight division. Klitschko's in his 40s. David Haye's 36 today. Who knows how old Luis Ortiz is? Povetkin's no spring chicken. Bermane Stiverne is no spring chicken. Lucas Brown is in his late 30s. Ruslan Chagayev looks like he's exited the sport, having been in the peripheries for so long. There's a lot of older names in that heavyweight division, and those guys still have the potential to play a part role in the next year or two. Don't be surprised to see a David Haye or a Luis Ortiz pick up a version of the world title. There's some real quality amongst the experienced ranks. But let's look ahead. We're in late 2016 now. Let's look ahead to 2018, 2019. who's the world champions at that stage? You know, Deontay Wilder's 30. He, for me, doesn't have a style that's going to age well. Deontay Wilder, for me, isn't the shrewdest technician. He isn't the most advanced chess player. He's a guy who relies on speed, athleticism, power. You know, the guys who can fight on to their older age are, for me, the guys like Hopkins, Mayweather, you know, the technicians. Klitschko, you know, Olympic gold medalist, superb technician. Deontay Wilder, for me, I know he's got that Olympic medalist background as well, but he's a guy who I expect to see as a force in the heavyweight division for 2 or 3 years. And I think come 2018, 2019, the winner of him, Povetkin, could certainly be one of the top names. Joshua, Parker, Hughie Fury, for me, those are the 3 most exciting prospects coming through. And I use the word prospect because of the number of fights they have. Obviously, Anthony Joshua is already a heavyweight champion, so it might be harsh to call him a prospect. But what I'm getting at there is just based on the fact that he's still a relative novice in terms of the number of fights he's had. But those guys, for me, are, you know, the real ones to watch. And it's going to be fascinating to see where this goes. So let me know your thoughts, people. Give me your take on Tyson Fury departing the division. Is it good? Do you agree with my negatives? Do you agree with my positives? What's your take on that? Where are things going to go? Do the older guys like Haye and Vladimir Klitschko and Ortiz, do they have the potential to be a relevant player beyond 2016 and 2017? Or is it the dawn of the new era? As I just said, AJ, Wilder, Hughie, Parker, those are the names who, for me, could be throwing it up in the air 2018, 2019. Maybe throw Povetkin into that mix as well. Any other names we should be looking at to add into that list? What do you reckon, people? Where do you see the heavyweight division? What are your thoughts on this whole picture right now? How do you see the whole mess developing? I'm disappointed, I'm sad as a Fury fan. But at the same time, I'm recognising there's potential for some amazing fights to get made in the next 2 to 3 years. And potentially this to go down as a great, great era of heavyweight boxing. Let me know your thoughts. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Many thanks for watching.